Hi, my name is Ramirez. Welcome to the news. What did I call this episode? Zebugly News? Zebugly News episode 8, where I go through a variety of news articles that I just would normally catalog even for myself. And, I do that gift the gab thing, you know what I'm saying? I kind of talk over this thing. Japanese minister. All right, so I started on the 15th, usually because I did an episode on Sunday. So any of this stuff, I don't know if I shared or not, but it doesn't matter to me. Japanese ministers anger China, South Korea with war shrine visit. Because in Asian cultures, it matters, right? Like, if you have a bunch of, like, political officials who start making these really weird moves, like, other Asians are going to be like, yo, these niggas be posturing. Yo, that nigga posturing? Yo, that nigga posturing for war, dog. Like, and, if anybody still has that, like, old world sense of being able to use language and their actions being meaningful, the Asians would more than likely actually pay attention to stuff like this. But then we have Beijing starts more live fire drills. Yeah, China essentially just wants to control Taiwan. I don't know how Taiwan fits into a lot of this, but it is very interesting to see. The reason why I say that is because I always bring it up, where Taiwan was essentially one of the breeding grounds for some of the eugenics movement, depopulation agenda of one child policy, this and that. And it falls under the category of South Korea for me as well, because there are a lot of theories that would suggest that North Korea and various other locations could be used as military silos that house X, Y, or Z, and it's what keeps these other nations in check. And there's always this whole thing of how do I say this? China having a vested interest in Taiwan, and I think it's far more than what we would assume to be. In case you're wondering, the orchestrated invasion of the UK is in full swing today. And it's not just in the UK. Like, throughout the week, I've seen videos of Portugal, Spain, Italy, and just droves and droves of displaced men being consciously moved. And nobody, at least I will ask the question of, where did the capital come from? Like, who paid for this? There has to be levels of facilitation, especially with the fact that you have a bunch of law enforcement essentially doing nothing in this scenario. So I always ask the question of why. And when you ask why, you'll typically find out that there's some blue-haired feminists being like, but we gotta think about the extra lives. Either way, the most dangerous drug in the world is not cocaine, heroin, or crystal meth, but a drug commonly prescribed by doctors who get lavish bonuses for slinging it. I'm not gonna divulge into what that chemical or drug it is, but it comes down to just the repeated snippets that we could talk about with how there has been an effort to target a variety of different subgroups within America with different drugs. So white people get prescribed more often Vicodin, like the pharmaceutical painkillers. And for blacks, you can assume what that is. For Mexicans, you can assume what that is. There's a variety of different pitfalls that exist within each culture that would essentially gobble up these people. I think the drug that the media likes to portray as being the most deadly one is fentanyl. And I'm not saying that it isn't deadly. I'm just saying that's the new linchpin. That's the new face of the drug war, is what I'm saying. Truth about vaccine damage for children. Oh, I forgot. I didn't actually. Hold on. 1 minuto. Because I actually like this clip.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you the same question with vaccines. What's in a vaccine? Go ahead.
Different chemicals.
Different chemicals?
Chemicals that could really hurt you.
Chemicals that can really hurt you?
That have
Really hurt you, okay.
It can poison your brain.
Chemicals that can poison your brain?
And make it so you're not smart.
Such as mercury.
Did you say metals like mercury? Well, you guys are way smart.
Sorbet.
And this little girl comes out with the sorbic acid, and I'm just like, whoa. No, sorbic something numbered, I don't know. Hold on, let me fix my volume, because I've been playing incredibly loud in the garage.
Polysorbate 80.
Polysorbate, oh my goodness. We have some very smart kids here.
Body.
Who taught that little girl how to say that word? But this goes into, there's obviously a new wave of parents who are actually armed with meaningful knowledge when it comes down to a very peculiar, specific section of science. And kind of people will debate about this, but there is no room for debate. There was essentially an act that literally gave complete protection to pharmaceutical companies. You can't reject that. You can't reject the notion that you can't go after these companies for any of this damage. In reality, most of the money that comes out of this is the Department of Defense, the Department of Health. So what's there to debate if there is a blanket coverage for injuries that relate to this specific area of science? I should have been more mindful of playing this clip, but polysorbate is the chemical that essentially allows the blood to absorb chemicals. There's reasons for this, and iodine, da da da. I could go into it, but news. We're doing the news today. Sadly, it's not a Tuesday. Either way, World Bank creates $1 billion fund for Babsine Pap Sports. And this goes down into where, after hearing that theory of understanding that they don't have the infrastructure for any of this, it makes complete sense why why certain moves were made. Why there is this total move to solar energy right now, why there's a bunch of government money kind of subsidizing this, why there's a huge effort and a huge drive right now for setting up capital, setting up funds, but you don't have the workers. Like, you don't have the people who understand how to even begin to build this infrastructure. And the reason why I say this is because if we allowed Fauci and the pharmaceutical companies to have their way that they were already planning on having back during, like, right around the turn of 2020, let's just say that. If they got their way, I think they would have pushed this to 12 years, because that would have given them enough time to push for smart cities in a more palpable way that the civilians wouldn't necessarily notice, like, exactly what was going on at that moment. So, I don't know. Either way, moving on. Julian Assange lawyers sues the CIA for spying on them. Like, bro, the CIA spies on everybody. Oh, look. I don't know. But Zimbabwe hails success of gold coin issuance. Declaring in July launch of... Oh, yeah. Now you're having a variety of instances where you're having nations open up exchange markets that allow for the trade of precious metals. Now, this is important because you have to understand the history of the monetary system that we've had. And by and large, anytime that you wanted to trade silver, anytime you wanted to trade precious metals, you were made a target of and you were readily dealt with. Because there is this, this push away of moving away from using precious metals and issuing debt notes and all this other sort of thing. And Zimbabwe is not the only one. I think there's also Nigeria. I can't remember what two Spanish countries. And I think the newest Spanish country that joined was Brazil. Brazil opened up a very unique exchange that relates to digital currencies, foreign exchange markets, and commodities of sorts. So to see where this will move forward is going to be fantastic, phenomenal, truly innovative. I need to fix my camera. But either way. Yeah, and this the reason why I know kind of bit about this is because I follow a company called Ripple. I've been following their litigation, and I've also been following them as a company. And the reason why that exchange matters in Brazil, that's using digital currencies for digital commodity reasons, is because that'll be very new in terms of moving value. Because I don't think people understand there's a delay. Like if you make a purchase, like if I live in America and I make a purchase to a different country, there is a delay of those funds being moved over and being cleared for. So, depending on the amount, most companies will just cover it up front, right? They're insured for it. But when it gets to much larger sums, it becomes more difficult for them to be able to move that much money that quickly. Okay, that fixed the camera. Yeah, it took me a while. I was watching all those videos of like the plane crash and saw a lot of buzz around it, but I was distracted with other things that I didn't necessarily pay very close attention to what was going on. But her Dead Man Switch released a movie, which I thought was very interesting, and there's still a lot of talk about if she was still alive or not. The rosary was suddenly blamed for an extremist symbol. Not surprised. China infiltrating kids' video games. Dude, that's not just China. Like, I always bring this up because nobody wants to remember Gamergate for what it originally was. And it was a protest. Essentially, I would say that this whole thing started with Nostarius being shut down. And having the Blizzard developers look at us in the face and tell us like, oh, you think you want that, but you don't want that. And then it kind of highlighted a very specific new thing that was being birthed in the video game industry, which was pay to play, and their deliberate target of people who would pay. They would deliberately target these people, and you know what I mean? We can get into the specifics, but herberderp. Why did I write? But oh yeah, hold on.
Yeah, but I think the erasure of memory is intentional. And that's why everywhere history is being rewritten. That's why before it is rewritten to make us forget, we must connect. Yeah, that's what erasure of memory is intentional. And that's why everywhere history is being rewritten. That's why before it is rewritten to make us forget, we must connect. Yeah, that's what I did in India. I worked with the farmers to remember that 1857 revolt against the East India Company, which shut the East India Company. Yeah, but I think the erasure,
My bad.
revolt against the East India Company, which shut the East India Company down, was a bread revolt. You know, farmers were being killed for not paying the taxes that were killing them. And so the farmers said, we'll reclaim our bread and our freedom. And because they were being arrested and killed, when they talked, they started to give bread to each other. And that's how the movement spread. When we had to launch the movement for seed freedom, I went back to Gandhi and his spinning wheel. He said, there was an empire of cotton where we were being impoverished, our farmers were dying. What did we do? We started to spin our own cloth. And I said, growing your own seed, growing your own food today is the freedom of today.
There is something that I've noticed that is a common denominator between the countries that get treated the worst in terms of not being allowed the ability to build themselves. All of them have one thing in common. They revolted in the early 1900s, and they revolted hard against communism, against the oppression of financial mechanisms that would put them in these situations, because by and large they were just being used for labor. They were just being used for the resources of the land, while the nation got nothing at all. And something that really disillusioned me, right? Because I was one of those stupid kids that blamed America for all of Mexico's problems, only to be somewhat right, only to be right enough to understand that it was the Bush family, it was the NAFTA deal, it was a variety of different mechanisms that allowed Mexico as a state to, how do I say, essentially give governors all of the power. So if there's anybody that was dipping into the budgets or dipping into the profits of the nation or the profits of each state, it was the governors by and large. So Mexico is a very rich resource country, but yet none of the money is ever seen amongst its citizens because by and large it's being funneled out through governors, political wings, facets of corporate seats, backroom deals that get made between certain political factions that are like it, once you get into it, it's like it's not, you know, the dummy is going to be like, well, it's because they're stupid people, and it's just like, nah, it's the same problem that America has. You have people who have inserted themselves into these positions to essentially rob, steal, and pillage, and you typically find out that it was through mechanisms of intelligentsia. Because I think for India it was MI5 that was running a lot of those operations. But current day it's the CIA, the OSS, or whatever mechanisms of corporate interest think tank company is being used in order for them to facilitate the logistics.
And
side
those
of
who
things.
say these are conspiracy, well, just look at the rules of WTO and globalized free trade. Who wrote the intellectual property agreement of WTO? Monsanto, they admitted it. Who wrote the agreement on agriculture that's destroyed all the self-reliance and food sovereignty of people? You know, everyone's talking about the Ukraine war and Russia, but the reason African countries are hungry is because their ability to produce their food was destroyed by the right to dump by Cargill. Cargill wrote the agreement on agriculture, and then the junk food industry, the Pepsis and Cokes and Nestle's, wrote the sanitary and phytosanitary agreement and created the Codex Adam.
But the companies are so large. Why would any of these employees do bad? Why would they poison us? Why would they pillage, rape, and take over the legal ownership of lands that aren't American? When you really start to verbalize all these ideas out, it gets quite terrifying.
Areas to shut down healthy food and push the food that gave us illnesses, 75% chronic diseases. This is not a conspiracy. There is evidence that the corporations wrote the rules, then it created the billionaires. Now the billionaires rule the world.
But there's no way that these systems would allow for such evil to propagate. It's like, dude, no monopoly ever existed without the help of the state, without the help of some like authoritarian mechanism. But you know, either way. COVID Safe app. Oh yeah, this is a really long video, but it's essentially like a infomercial showing that Australia gave this contract to this app company, and then the app company kind of implemented it, but it ended terribly. It ended up with the app not working, it only catching 17 cases, which only 2 of which were infected. One of its major problems was that it was contact tracing people that were separated by like a physical wall, right? The person was in the other building sort of situation. Funny stuff. But that they wasted $21 million. And I found that very interesting because I'm like, that's a very interesting legal way of money laundering if I ever did see one. Oh, the Democratic. Okay, yeah. They caught this Democrat in some cosplay. I know that series. And I'm like, I feel you. I understand that we're in a war against the cultist, but I think you're stretching a little too far there because I'm an anime fan. I already plan on cosplaying the moment that I'm like finished with what I'm doing with my body. But it's like, this is why I think I couldn't run for office, because I'm like, look, I get it. This is not okay for me to cosplay because I'm gonna blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, I think about it and I'm like, yo, there are very big cultural divides between us as a people and Japanese people. Like they don't view these themes the way we view them. And a lot of it has to do with that they treat anime the way that they treat soap operas. It's just a story. This is just like a recycled concept that probably has a different iteration of it that the person who drew this series was inspired to make it. Like, it's different, but I don't know. He might be an occultist for all I know. The FDA just buried their heads in the sand as 44% of pregnant child participants. Yeah, this is very sad. She's one of the few people that I'll watch that'll keep track of the data that comes out from the CDC and all this. And it's kind of funny because you'll see Hassan, you'll see Destiny, and you'll see these this left wing protection group of righteousness. They'll slander all of these boomers that are associated with her, Shiva, Dr. Shiva. There's a whole bunch of other boomers that also exist from like as far as Europe to Australia. They'll all get slandered just because, oh no, they say different things than the CDC. They say different things than the FDA. I only believe the most debated sources. I'm like, bro, the science has changed. Shut the fuck up.
All across the mountainside of the San Bernardino National Forest, you can see the widespread damage left behind by this mudslide. The rushing waters from this flash flooding was so powerful, it was able to lift up these enormous boulders and push them miles down the hill. Weather experts are calling this monsoon season across the West one of the most intense in about a decade.
You know, we're driving down, you could see.
That is very crazy that we're seeing all of these flash floods, all of this weird displacement of water, washing away these areas that would, well, San Bernardino, I don't know if they've ever experienced floods, but you know, places like Kentucky, places like places that you would typically not see flooding to that degree, that is just getting. Michigan, not too long ago was Yellowstone. I remember having those videos. It was like, dude, it washed away homes. Like, either way, moving on. Quadruple vaccinated Jill Biden infected again. Oh my! Another one bites the dust. Yeah. Here we have my take on the adults who are obsessed by giving kids hormone blockers. I didn't watch this video, but let's watch it together.
We need to talk about what's happening in Texas. The governor is trying to take away vital health care from transgender kids and labeling it as child abuse.
Now I remember why I didn't watch this. Okay. Very sorry. Very sorry that I had to expose my viewers to such atrocities. China's heat wave has impacted Apple Toyota suppliers, causing production to halt. Sure, I'll believe that. In a world where everything is fucked, that sounds reasonable to me. None of this scamdemic, none of this other bullshit. This sounds believable for once. And that's where it feels really wrong with me. But moving on. NBA won't schedule any games on US Election Day. That was very interesting. I've never seen any organization, monopoly, corporation, or entity respect the election in America. Ever. Just in, Coinbase fails to protect user funds from unauthorized transfers. I think, I don't know. I shared that one because it fits this idea of mine that there isn't enough precedent in terms of court litigation, in terms of circumstances, in terms of things that could arise. There needs to be more on paper before cryptocurrencies by and large get accepted as a form of payment method, because it's a very unique thing. You know what I mean? It's not like your normal traditional banking system. It's not like MoneyGram. It's not like Western Union. Because it's so dynamic in its ways, and I think the lack of understanding of programming, the lack of understanding of how to read a programming language, let alone being able to read the code to a finalized program. Yeah, good luck. I think Americans by and large are just too stupid at this point to attempt that. And anybody who, that discussion, in my opinion, has already been had, and that decision was already probably made anywhere between the years of 2003 to 2007. And you got to know the history about AI, encryption, and all this other bullshit that I did research on that nobody cares. Poland's PM says France, Germany run EU as oligarchy. Wait, did I just read that right? Poland's PM says France, Germany run EU as an oligarchy. Yeah, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. I want disprove me, please. How is this in Antarctica? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yo, bro, check this out, bro. This is totally cool, dude.
So for Antarctica to be completely covered in ice, that's what we've been taught all my life. Why, when you go on Google Maps, does it show this? Now, I know I smoke a lot of weed, but this shit ain't adding up. I mean, where's the snow? What the fuck is this? Please go on Google Maps. Go on Antarctica. Look for the little circle.
This is a giant conspiracy, man. I can't believe you go on the internet and you watch this sort of thing. You know how negligible your actions are in diluting the public education this way? You need to go to school, man. You need to go to university, man. You need to really educate yourself on some proper things, you know? I don't know, dude. Like, have you ever been to Antarctica? Don't you ever think it's fucking weird that there's all these weird rules and regulations in order to monitor that fucking place? Nah, dude, it's totally normal that all of these countries who were just in a war just got together, signed a peace treaty, and everybody was like, yeah, bro, penguins. Penguins, my guy, yeah. Penguins.
This is the modern day version of Watergate, except the only difference is it wasn't political operatives breaking in to their opponent's headquarters. It was the FBI and DOJ busting in to the home of their political opponents. And if the facts play out the way we think, then a lot of people are going to be held accountable, just like they were rightfully so for the violations of law in Watergate at the highest levels of government. And I think that people will criticize that analogy, but I can't think of a better way to encapsulate it for the American public, because that's one they can all relate to. And it was egregious then. It was a gross violation of the law by the.
I don't care. Personally, I'm just like, this is theater to me. I don't care. This is not for me. This is for the WWE bullshit. That is for the public, not for me. I care more about the bigger moves, right? Like right? This is like season 2 to America. I care about the bigger plot points. To me, this is that like in between filler bullshit of each episode that just progresses the story slightly forward. And the reason it's done is not. It's more done for the stupid people than it is done for anybody else. You know what I mean? Like the people that are just too slow, they need the reruns. Think about that, right? America has this weird ass culture of reruns where throughout the week they'll show old episodes of the TV show while only releasing one new episode each week. Everywhere else around the world, it doesn't work like that. Like telenovelas or soap operas in Spanish, and in some cases, most other telenovelas around the world are a daily release. They come out day to day to day. Meanwhile, America has like this really regressive ass way of like, I don't know. I always thought that the TV scheduling was hella fucking weird. Like here, just to compare it to Mexico, and then around the world too. Really weird shit. It's like they expect you not to have like the brain power to kind of, I don't know. I've always thought that was weird. Oh yeah, Capri Sun recalls thousands of pouches. You know, it's fucked up. I know somebody who loves these things. It sucks for you, dude. Drink your poison elsewhere, man. Are they essentially erasing most of the internet? Oh yeah, dude. All right, so I'm somebody who I figured it out down to a science, my boy, where you can do time gated. You can essentially time gate your search results. It used to be much easier. Now, not so easy. A lot of it's kind of fucked up. Google has now, like, they'll cake up your own research results. And then by the time you get to page 30 or page 20, that's if you even get that far, they'll tell you that they found all these results, but by the time you get to like the end of the pages, you'll typically actually hit a wall. It never used to be like that, because back then you would actually just get like the algorithm, I think, was more associative data, where if one piece of data is associated with another piece of data, they'll correlate the terms and the usage of those terms. I've noticed that some of that's kind of, either way, this is not an episode about that. The Jamaican government have upped their spraying and poisoning. Yeah. This goes back to the Jamaica study, because I've always noticed a peculiar importance in understanding certain demographics. I always found it very interesting. The CDC has stated in their new guidelines that they have all... Oh, I haven't watched this video. Watch it with me.
So the CDC stated that the vaxxed and unvaxxed can be treated the same now. That it's finally okay to treat all people with respect and dignity regardless of their medical decisions. Oh, well, thank God you don't have to discriminate.
I actually called everybody who took that a retard. Like, I hurt people's feelings when they took that. When they took that, I'm not gonna lie, I really hurt people's feelings. Like, I hurt my sister's feelings so bad she didn't even get the second shot. That's how badly I hurt her feelings. But hey, I love my family, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to let them do that. It was kind of fucked up of me, though. Ain't finna lie, though.
Sobering study of the signed treaties and charters between Britain and the United States exposes a shocking truth. The
East India Company. Right, because the lady previously mentioned this before. And I always thought, I found this, I can't believe it didn't dawn on me sooner, right? Five Eyes? All of the countries that are in Five Eyes are British colonies, even the United States. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so stupid for just realizing this now. So all forms of intelligence are literally under the British crown. Boy, what?
The United States has always been, and still is, a British Crown colony. King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the first Charter of Virginia in 1606. That charter granted America's British forefathers a license to settle and colonize America. The charter
Now, I wanted to bring up those charters that he wrote up, and how essentially he gave something that, what was it? It was only like 2 seconds ago. Hold on, 1 minute. 1 minute.
America's British forefathers a license to settle and
Yeah, a license to settle. And that was guaranteed under the, what was it? The Discovery Doctrine, written by Thomas Aquinas from the Catholic Church. Like, if it wasn't for the Catholic Church allowing these sort of licenses to go through, none of this would have actually happened, right? Like, there's actually a Supreme Court judge who wrote a really great dissertation on how they didn't properly use the Discovery Doctrine. Instead, they just killed a bunch of people.
colonize America.
Terrible shit.
The charter also guaranteed that future kings and queens of England would have sovereign authority over all the citizens and colonized land in America, stolen.
I don't know, I find it very weird, because I always ask the question of, why are there all these states and all these cities around the United States with Spanish names? Why were the Spanish here like hundreds of years before you bitches were? Like, did the English kill everybody here? Like, I'm starting to think that the English were like, nah, we're gonna kill all the Spanish, and then we're gonna rewrite your history too. Y'all, nah, I don't know. I'm just saying. Syria, artillery exchanged near the Turkish border. More war in the Middle East. I don't know what. Oh yeah. U.S. Jesuits promised to raise $100 million for slavery reparations projects. Around a tiny hat. Never relax, all right? And I'm not talking about you letter J's. Get out. You're not, no. I'm talking about the real tiny hats. The Jesuits, my boy. Them are the motherfuckers you can't trust for shit. Lost interview by Bill Cooper. Hey, you can go to the Telegram for that. Burger King, oh yeah, Burger King in Austria now ask customers, regular or with meat? What do you mean? You telling me people from Estonia are eating bugs? When they start eating those bugs, my boy, like what? Ukraine failed. I didn't watch that video. I probably should have, so I can say some things about it. Londoners are better off returning to the office as bills soar. City of London workers save about 50 quid per week in January 2023 if they can walk, run, or cycle to the office and avoid using power at home. Oh yeah. Carbon credits and all this other bullshit. Turns out that some PCR tests contained a chemical called sodium azide or sodium azide. What's the difference in the spelling? Why did they write it either way? I remember watching a video of somebody like walking up to somebody and being like, let me see the test. Let me see the test. Let me just see the test. Looks at it and he's like, you see that chemical right there? That thing will fry your brain and this and that. And like he rails the nurse that I felt kind of bad because I'm like, bro, she's just a nurse. She's just a dummy. She wasn't ready, man. She's just a dummy. Put the either way. Liz Cheney lost her race. Ain't nobody give a damn about that. Oh yeah, DARPA is working on projects to connect the human mind to AI, and this goes by with why I believe that quantum financial shit and the financial system infrastructure sort of thing, all of that was designed or started to get built around 2004 to 2007. It all revolves around the dude. Literally, you think the U.S. Department of Defense is just going to ignore that $2.3 trillion just disappeared? You think you didn't actually think one of these generals was going to be like, yo, we should do something about this banking system? And then like I think after a few of them died trying to speak to a Rothschild, I think somebody in the Department of Defense kind of wisened up. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I believe. Protesters throw toilet paper all over the home of former NYC. Oh yeah, Bill de Blasio. Oh yeah, I shared this video because it says new water cuts coming from southwest as Colorado River falls into tier 2 shortage. Again, all of this weird displacement of water. And sinkholes appearing out of nowhere. I could go more into this. More skeletal remains are found in the Las Vegas lake. Very interesting. Oh yeah, this is the video that I made a video on. Because I thought it did a great job of describing two various instances of the conspiracy theory that we can concretely say that there's substance to, but it's very difficult to lean one way or another.
We have the...
Oh yeah, this video. Should I show it? I'm 38 minutes in. No, I'm not going to show it. This is a video that describes the receipt of things that were taken from Trump's home. But he also correlates this to, I think I said this in the morning video, but it also correlates to things that Ghislaine Maxwell was saying when she was in prison over a year and a half ago. So it's like, why is she saying things from a year and a half ago that now relate to something that happened this year? Like, either this is scripted or she's like clairvoyant to a fucking like to some shit. She probably goes to the same tarot reader that I do. I'm joking. Experts say drills were warning Taiwan. Nobody cares. Connect. As I said the other day, this is a massive breach of U.S. national security infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. Involves 1.8 million Americans who had their personal information handed to the CCP. Bro, the moment the video game companies started getting bought out by Tencent, like, if you don't know about that, bro, they already have all the dudes' information. Everybody who plays Fortnite to some degree has their information sold to the CCP by and large. If you play any of the games that Tencent owns, you're fucked already. So like, I don't know what they're saying here. Oh yeah, it's a movie clip. I could play it, but I don't want to because that would actually get this flagged. Desperately seeking Susan and the infamous jacket. In a scene from 1985 flick, Susan, Madonna, trades in her Novus Ordo Seclorum jacket. Oh yeah, and this is where she puts it on. Just wait until she turns around. Very interesting. What I thought was interesting was the play of numbers. Madonna's birthday is August 16th. Elvis Presley, whose name is mentioned in this movie, August 16th. And Arthurine Franklin's death date was August 16th. Coincidence. Very interesting coincidences. Oh yeah, this blew my mind because I was like, bro, I've heard some crazy theories, but this one...
Montana named Samuel Hoffman, and back in 1978, Samuel discovered that we actually have a twin solar system that our government wasn't telling us about. The government found out about Samuel's discovery and not long afterwards forced Samuel into signing a 30-year non-disclosure agreement to keep him quiet. That agreement ended in 2010, which was the same year these other planets started becoming visible. Samuel said they do not want people to know these other planets exist because some of the planets are inhabited and Earth is actually considered a factory planet where we provide commodities like gold to some of these other planets in this other solar system. This other system travels on an elliptical cycle, and every 3,600 or so years our two solar systems meet up. This is the real reason for why our skies look as strange as...
I was like, okay, I don't know. I know there is this side of truthers, YouTube, whatever we want to call them. I'm just like, I'll listen to this. I'll keep track of the data point. I'll keep track of the trend, but I just know internally that I will not get the truth of space until we handle the leadership, until we handle all these weird, crazy fucks that have all these levers of power. I don't think we'll ever get to space in any meaningful capacity for the average guy. So I think we got bigger issues on our hand, is something that I'll always tout to. Scott Adams breaks down the hoax pattern affecting the U.S. national discourse since 2016. I could describe this a little bit, right? So we have anonymous sources take legal action, amplify with a what if, deep state, fake news, NBC, CIA, whatever, talking heads we have, and then skiff in a skiff, secure, confidential. I can't remember what it stands for. A skiff is essentially this last box. Schiff in a skiff. Schiff is Adam Schiff, slimy little weirdo whose family has been around in America since the inception of this country, which is really weird. And then a skiff is essentially like this really weird box that somebody walks into. It's hella secure, and he's been pretending that he's had meaningful disclosures of information in relation to these matters, and that's what gives it legitimacy. For the news, more for anything than the news. In reality, him walking into a skiff means nothing. And the only reason why that requirement is needed for him to step in there is because it makes it meaningful. If he didn't step into that bitch, that topic, that conversation, whatever theme that he's speaking on would mean nothing. But that's not for anybody. Scientists, los científicos, have revealed plans to bring back the Tasmanian tiger. Oh yeah. They want to genetically clone Tasmanian tigers to see if they can bring them back to life. I don't know. There's this video that I've been trying to post on my Instagram for a while now, but for whatever reason I couldn't. Just some ducks yapping. The history of the MK Ultra program run by the CIA. I don't know. There is a lot to be said about this because most of what we know was destroyed. All of the documentation was destroyed. Most of this then went into private venture firms. They also established themselves in Canada and veiled themselves as the Tavistock Institute as we know it now. a variety of different things. Human behavioral science, I think, really took a weird turn around this era. And by and large, I don't think we've ever had a discourse or a dissertation or meaningful understandings of what knowledge was gained during these programs. And it's kind of very evident. If they had to destroy all of it, I really do wonder how far they pushed it, right? Because from the little we know, just think about the one context, right? They set up brothels. They got in contact with the local police departments to set up all these brothels, and then they would drug all of the people that went there and just test it on them. Like, I don't know. The way I see science experiments, and if you give people that liberty, if you give them that right, what do you call it? If you absolve them of that responsibility, these motherfuckers would go far. Like, I kind of want to read what happened to him, but I don't know. Oh yeah, I should probably show this on the Telegram. Yeah, this is the video. Probably could show the video, but it's too long. Here we have kiss of death. Women charged with murder of inmate boyfriend after passing him drugs via kiss. And I'm like, bro, this is like, isn't that in a James Bond movie where like some chick laces her lipstick with poison, kisses that fool, and like there's this whole thing. I don't even know if it's a James Bond movie. I just know it's a movie plot point. Almost 4,000 victims. Oh, this is where I always think of, if there was nothing really to worry about in terms of the medical industry, then why are we seeing cases like this where people are walking away and realizing, something's not wrong with me. What happened? Oh, you got tainted blood. Where did that blood come from? Oh, it came from so-and-so. And it's like, woo. Oh no, but you should still take the 4th shot though. You should definitely take the 5th one and the 6th one too. Like, suspending disbelief, dude. The Daily Wire. I love this one. I'm sorry. Be a real hoe. Child Protective Services employee fired after telling hungry teen girl to prostitute herself. That's where we're at right now. Like, it's easier to tell these girls to make an... I don't know. Makes me want to just lose all hope for Western society. What is this? Why did I share this? Ducks.
Any breach of the Communist Party's ideology is a criminal offense in China.
The internet and social media are strictly controlled. For example, anyone who criticizes Xi Jinping on the Chinese app WeChat is immediately arrested.
Damn, my boy, you can't even say anything in a private chat. Cops are already knocking. Whoa. We saw what you were typing. We decided to come by your door. Yo, actually, I just reposted an article about that today. I ranked Japan and... Oh, yeah. Here we have another Japan, China, holding 7-hour talk. 7 hours of a talk. And on Monday, they were visiting a war shrine. Who are they going to war? Because it doesn't look like they're going to go to war with each other. I'm just saying. U.S. says China to pursue growing coercion of Taiwan. They're telling the Japs, yo, you better stay down. We know Trump gave you all those Air Force planes. We know Trump armed you to the teeth. No. You better stick down. Oh yeah, celebrities. Oh yeah, I love this one. Billionaire celebrities took out PPP loans set aside for hard-hit businesses during pandemic. I remember my gut instinct was just to say, well, it takes a lot of money to maintain a facade, so especially ones that are government sponsored. Either way, biggest. It's a video of I have family members that look at me crazy, and I'm just like, you literally are watching DHS, the sheriffs, LAPD. You're watching all forms of law enforcement allow these people to run rampant in this state, and you're going to tell me that white privilege is like, I don't know. I don't know. And this one was the best, bro. I
mean, Hunter Biden, at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared, right?
One more time.
And at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared, right? It's like, there's nothing. First of all, it's Hunter Biden, right? It's like.
The intellectual dark web strikes again. This goes to show that, like, do not trust these talking heads. Like, and he'll later go on to say that he would much rather have this open-ended conspiracy that everybody knows about and go through with that instead of allowing Orange Man to get into office. What levels of, like, disbelief do I have to entertain for me to believe that this nigga's a good guy? Like, for real. Bro, who cares that we conspired? Who cares that the media and all these other facets of our reality conspired together like the Matrix shit where they were trying to take this nigga down? Who cares? It's much better that we don't have Orange Man. Orange Man bad. He is so much more corrupt than Joe Biden. He literally says that Trump is more corrupt than Joe Biden. Bro, that fucked me up. Watching that video fucked me up. Either way, Facebook bans lib of TikTok for good after it campaigned against Boston Children's Hospital. Bans libs of TikTok for good after it campaigned against Boston's Children's Hospital and falsely accused it of giving hystro. I'm guessing they're hormone blockers. Either way, that's intense. We have misinformation, not message. Biggest election vulnerability, hacker says. Yeah, this goes into like hackathons. Like, straight up, companies will pay hackers to show up and they tell them, we'll give you money if you hack our shit. And depending on how badly you hack it, we'll pay you more money, especially if you know how to fix it. And yeah, that literally, there's a whole industry behind that. Wait, wrong button. But Nickelback Fuentes, my worst nemesis. Not really. I just think he's a fucking giant dweeb.
So in 2016, you tweeted out a list of 20 people that you called alt-right or alt-right friendly. It included Ron Paul, Pat Buchanan, Ann Coulter, and even Donald Trump. Recently, you gave a speech at Stanford about Nick Fuentes, who you...
Nick Fuentes is a shill. Nick Fuentes is a Fed boy. Nick Fuentes is some weird creation that I think his mom groomed him for it, but that's a whole other discussion that I don't want to have. Hey, look, man, I got a sister that's just like that. So this is coming from a really weird place where I've seen a mother groom her child. So don't feel too bad, dog. It's just what it is. You know, some people just get born with crazy moms. I just happen to have her as a sister. Either way, though. But yeah, Nick Fuentes is like this weird amalgamation of 4chan belief systems. And he likes to tout that he knows what he's talking about. He likes to tout that he knows where he's getting his information from. But he'll never actually word where his beliefs come from. Let alone the fact that he stole America first. Like, he rode that wave. Like, that was not his campaign to run on, but you know, it depends on how much you know about American history and all this other bullshit. Either way, there's an original campaign, right? It wasn't Donald Trump. Like, Donald Trump stole that from some other, was it like 1960s, 1950s, like some early American campaign, and that's why Donald Trump for a while used it, and then Nickelback Fuentes just decided to start using it. Either way. Your new Facebook friend may be the FBI. Estonia Thursday said it had thwarted major waves of cyber attacks against public and private institutions as Russian hackers claimed responsibility. Yes, those dirty Russians. Elon Musk, solar-powered civilization is the future. Not really, my boy. I don't know. This goes into what people believe about electricity. And this... I don't know. I feel like a lot could be said, but I don't want to say it because I don't know much about the subject. They don't care, never forgot, had the media dirt on... Michael. I like this guy. This guy good.
It's not just about spending money. You know, if we waste money, like, worse things have happened. Let's just talk about the depravity of the ruling class. Amy Rohrbach got caught on a hot mic talking about how she had all the goods on Jeffrey Epstein, right? And ABC News was exposed. The only person who suffered consequences that they were covering up for this, like child trafficker was someone who was later at CBS who they thought accessed the file. Right. And CBS fired the former ABC employee, apparently incorrectly. Kevin McCarthy, I think he was either House Majority Leader or House Minority Leader at the time, fired off an angry letter demanding ABC say, wait a minute, you guys had the goods on this child predator and you sat on this? You never called the authority? Answer me. Have you heard anything about that since?
No, of course not. You're not going to hear anything. What the? Everyone's been blackmailed, right? Like when I think of these intelligence circles and when I think of all of these blackmail rings, these things are designed. I think Epstein was just one aspect of it. Like you can clearly tell where he had his foot in the door. You can clearly tell that he dominated a bit of the fashion industry, dominated a bit of the education industry, knew and rubbed shoulders with very specific key political officials. I think this is just one of many blackmail rings. And him highlighting the fact that news anchors who you can consider established people with reputable names, with reputable brands, they were the ones that worked the closest in hiding all this information. And that's something that I just want to get angry and be like, you see, you fucking dumb people, right? Because I yell at people who live in that snow globe. And that snow globe analogy, I remember using it just for white people, but that's everybody. Everybody lives in this really weird snow globe that they create for themselves, and they self-limit their ideas, their beliefs, their self-identity, and they just hinder themselves into this encapsulated, like, life that they think that they should be living. And by and large, it'll always go over their head that there was a reputable news station that knew about this guy years in advance. I'm talking about years in advance, and yet they did nothing with it. And then all you see is that video clip of that female, the news anchor female who was the one saying it to the camera, and she's just mad that she's the one that didn't break the story. She's mad that she wasn't the first one. That's what she was more mad about. And that I was like, bruh. That right there got me. That right there, I say, got me. Alex Jones comes out against Trump. Dude, Alex Jones and David Icke have both stated their clear disagreement. No, Trump is a bad man. He's an evil man. You should trust me. I've been a shill for the machine for 12 years, right? You should trust me. I know what the machine wants. I know how to facilitate your needs, citizens. Either way, I found something strange. So I saw that rock singer 48 suffered from catastrophic brain injury, died of complications of the yab, and that's what the coroner ruled. What I found interesting was they don't mention his name anywhere until I clicked the article, and his name is Zion. I was like, very interesting that you excluded everything in the right. You can just say rock singer Zion dies, but I don't know. I found it very interesting that they refused to include his name in the beginning of the article. It's probably because he wasn't famous, but at the same time, it's like very weird that his name is Zion, and they blame the very thing that is causing this. They name it. They name it in the article. That's weird. It just does not. It doesn't fit any of the other markers of consistency, which I found very weird. So I'll leave it at that. The government is arguing that unsealing the affidavit that was used to, dude, the Illuminati 4D chess, bro. Illuminati 4D chess, bro. It's the machine and the Hydra biting its own head. Facebook bans major U.S. anti-vaccine groups, the Child Health Defense, which has been a critic of blah blah, immediately accused Meta of stifling its free speech rights. I'm like, no. The 2024 election is around the corner, and they want to control the narrative. They do not. They want, dude, I already see this coming. They're going to blame him for warp speed. They're going to blame, it wasn't Fauci's fault. It was the Trumpler. The Trumpler was the one who was talking to the pharma companies. It wasn't Dr. Fauci. It wasn't Dr. Fauci who started all the research back in 2014. It wasn't him who then allowed and facilitated all of those weird deals to China and Ukraine from 2013 to 2016. It wasn't Fauci. It was Trump. Orange man back. Do you realize that's what the news is doing to you? Like, this is what gets me so angry, when people don't actually word out exactly what they're saying. Or at least the lack of comprehension is what they're facing. But that's a whole other issue. Did Dr. Fauci just say yes? Yes, he did, my boy. I should probably play this because it's that one clip.
But she's had the flu for 14 days. Should she get a flu shot?
Well, no. If she got the flu for 14 days, she's as protected as anybody can be, because the best vaccination is to get infected yourself.
And
so
she should not get it?
If she really has the flu, she definitely doesn't need a flu vaccine. If she really has the flu,
she should not get it again.
No, she doesn't need it, because it's the most potent vaccination is getting infected yourself.
Whoa, man. Whoa. I heard the immune system doesn't exist. I heard that was a myth made by them Trump supporters. What you mean you been lying to me? You the very man that taught me this. I'm joking. I'm sorry. I do believe, I believe in science from doctors who are not on government payroll. I think that was the best quote that I took from this, because I didn't actually watch the video. Probably should watch all these videos, but my attention span, you know what I mean?
And if you just took a dose of reality, we're going to be somewhere in the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Worst case scenario, you know. And so then we have to ask the question, was it worth throwing $1 trillion into the sea and destroying our liberties for 2 years for that? You know, that's a question. Okay.
So it's around the level of the flu.
It's
all of the oligarchs, all of the Democrats, all of the people who want to see this country burn. Yes, it was a very necessary sacrifice to see American citizens lose everything, lose their businesses, lose their house, lose their livelihoods. This was an important thing that America needed to go through. That's what Democrats are saying. And people aren't catching that. And I'm like, bruh.
Around the level of a bad flu. And the diamond.
And the reason why I can say that wholeheartedly is because just one life. If we can save just one life. You see, I remember all of the rhetoric. I remember all of the propaganda that people fucking say. I remember every single time people move the goalpost. Every single time. Every single time.
Princess proved it. Now you'll have those politicians, the elites of health bureaucracy. You'll have them say, for example, you'll have Brendan Murphy say to you, Senator Roberts, that, well, we are like the UK in the grand scheme of things, with 126,000 alleged deaths in the UK. The UK has a population of 67 million. We have 26 million. That means that he's saying that there would have been 50,000 dead. I can give you a half a dozen hard variables that show us that Keating was right in one sense. We're part of Asia and not the UK. It was never going to be like the UK. If you indulge me, I can tell you some of those variables that we can do in question time, but you can't extrapolate. Once again, those alleged deaths, because they're based upon a mortality attribution that is dubious. Okay. We have our former Prime Minister, Treasurer, Minister of Health, Home Affairs, Finance, I don't know, he held all the portfolios. He said, based on OECD estimates and the modelling, that there would be 30,000 deaths. This is pure fantasy. This is pure propaganda.
Fear.
Fear.
It was in the word modeling. They designed models. They already designed it with something in mind. They went into this whole thing with it in mind. The next one is a clip that I got. Dude, I can't believe they put this in video games. Video games must... I just wonder, like, how much cooler were video games back in the day? And that I wasn't aware of. Because I was just like a kid.
Some have called our plans a Luciferian conspiracy. But they will not say such things after the coming of the new guard. They will hold their tongues. Not because they have had a change of heart, but because... well, because they will already have rotted out from the inside. The chips we've implanted in the majority of the population under the guise of vaccinations allow us to watch the watchers. Now, how could anyone say the pact was a bad thing?
That's terrifying. And the reason why or at least the way I know that they would use vaccination, I mean, don't use that word. I've done a very good job of not using that word. But the one reason why is because it leans on people's ultimate authority. It leans on a doctor. It leans on somebody that could save your life. And because of that nature of that job, that position, or that medical field, or whatever that is, there's such a blind faith that people give to it that they wouldn't question it. And that's where we're at now. That's why I'm like, dude, this would have happened under Truncas, or it would have not happened under Truncas. The whole point is the medical aspect of things, that medical idea, that avenue of implementation was still there. Trump could have done nothing about that because it leans on a different authority figure that has nothing to do with government. It has nothing to do with elections. It has to do with whatever weird bureaucracy exists in the science medical field, but that's a discussion for a very another day. Buenos Aires, Argentina. Anti-government taxpayers protesting rising inflation rates. Very interesting, yes. Olaf Scholz booed and heckled by taxpayers over rising inflation. Right? These are two very different nations. They're completely different parts of the world, and yet we're watching a consistent factor in this equation that's repeating all over the world. But yet people are like, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And I'm like, bruh, gotta love it. Oh, yeah, this is the best quote. This is going to go down as the best quote of 2022. I'll fight for that. I'm going to put that on a billboard, walk all over LA and be like, change my mind. Change my mind. I actually wanted to end it with this clip because this clip was so great. Yo, I'm actually kind of mad that I didn't upload it to my Instagram yet.
The League of Nations came into being, and then the United Nations after the League of Nations. What has the United Nations done? I know the farce and the fraud of the United Nations. You come here, excellence, comment allez-vous, and all that, very good speech, how good, you've spoken so well, très bien. We've heard all these things. It's a farce. The United Nations has turned into a fashion house.
Into fashion house. You speak so well. Oh, you did so good speech. Woo. And dude, that literally just reminds me every single time the Machiavellian tactics. This book has been used over and over and over again. And dude, until everybody learns it, I'll shut the fuck up about it. Deadass. Until you understand the Machiavellian tactics like the back of your fucking hand, I will never shut up about this because it's so fucking easy to swindle. You gotta get your foot in the door, but the right way. You gotta sell it the right way. You gotta speak the right way. You gotta manufacture all of these various facets of perception, and you orchestrating that as a play, right? It's why, to some degree, I look at communication skills like magic. I look at it like some very occultic form of being able to use your words, how you use them. You could really fuck with people. Like, I'm gonna use this as a context of one time I was in the financial office. What do you call it? The financial aid office in a community college. We'll leave it very vague. And I remember watching both male and female use aspects of their voice, aspects of their own image, to portray this idea towards the ladies who were the ones that had to handle all of the financial aid money. And I would visually see these people abuse of human emotion on the opposite side of the desk in order for them to facilitate these people to get their financial aid. All because they were trying to circumvent, I think this is like the initial barriers that they were putting in order to stop people from getting the financial aid and just leaving. There was a huge problem where people would go to the community college, show up for the first few weeks, get all the money and dip and just disappear. They just get a bunch of free money and leave. Like, that was a huge problem here in California. And to see this visually in front of me, I was like, damn, what the fuck? But, right, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if I'm just a normal person who's watching this in a very small form factor way in my life, what does that mean for the greater world? What does that mean? And then you get into what was it? It's like a new aspect of security firms, where people are tested to see how far they can get into a building, how far they can get into an office, just by kind of swindling their way into it. And it's a form of security. It's like a form of a security vetting process. And there are very lucrative financial firms, security firms that will pay people who know how to finesse this kind of social dynamic aspect of things. And very crazy. Very crazy. Yes, let's continue. I fucking love this. I love this clip. It's turned into Fashion House. Christian Dior. That's my favorite song from Pop Smoke, by the way. Dior, Dior.
We've heard all these things. It's a farce. The United Nations has turned into a fashion house. Nina Rishi, Christian Dior, not the United Nations for preservation of world peace. You know what? Why you are Christian Dior and why the United Nations is Nina Rishi? Because you try to hide ugly realities. Like ugly figures go to Nina Rishi to conceal their figures. You have made the United Nations also into a fashion house to hide the ugly realities. You're trying to hide the ugly realities. But the ugly realities cannot be hidden, Mr. President. You don't need a Secretary General. You need a Chief Executioner.
Gotta love that clip. Yeah, like I was saying, you gotta love that clip because he brings up the nasty side of the UN bureaucracy. You know, I've seen some Europeans try to defend it to death, but when it comes down to, all right, who writes up all of the articles? Who writes up all of this literature? Do they get elected? And they always have to begrudgingly be like, no, they don't. They don't get elected. They get appointed. And it's like, exactly. That's where this problem comes with. It's like, yeah, they can vote. Yeah, they have all these other facets of ways of handling themselves. But at the end of the day, do they get to have any meaningful effect over what literature gets presented? Oh, no, that's a monopoly. But I love the League of Nations. I love being under oligarchical. oligarchical. European power prices climb to fresh records, putting more pressure on industrial production and consumers struggling with cost of living crisis. I don't like seeing anybody suffer, but people gotta wake up. That's the way I see it. It's like this is the only way I see people waking up. This is the only way that I see average people being like, they wake up one day and they're like, the world is burning. My house is on fire. How did this happen? It's like, Bill, we've been trying to tell you. And it's like, what? Even Mittens is on fire. No, I'm joking. Poor Mittens. We have a George Soros clip.
I think that people in the West don't appreciate how prepared and eager the Poles are to engage in radical reform. I went there.
People in the Western world don't understand that the Polish people are eager to get pushed over, told what to do, ready for me to blackmail them. Like, that's literally what he's saying.
And I discussed a very thorough and radical reorganization of the Polish economy.
I've already talked to someone on how to completely change their economic markets, and it's completely done by my whim. And it wasn't that hard. And the reason why you can tell that it wasn't that hard is because look at how he thought about it a little bit, but he's like, it'll be easy. We got this in the bag. Like,
large-scale denationalization. And not only solidarity, but the government also endorsed this program. So the willingness is there.
Do you think the U.S. should back such a package of that magnitude this weekend?
I think the United States has to back a package of that magnitude, and I think the United States has to use its influence with at the G7 meeting in order to be able to not miss what is right now an historic opportunity. You have a gentleman on the program with me here who knows more about solidarity than I'm going to ever know, but the fact, it seems to me, is that solidarity now has a stake in the outcome of the Polish economy and the outcome of the political process.
You're a student of the Polish economy as well as the Hungarian. What do you say to that?
It is really, as Senator Biden said, a historic opportunity.
At first, I thought this was like, yo, is this edited? But the moment he said, as Senator Biden said, I'm like, okay. I'm hobbledy smacked right now. Either way, moving on, we go 300 Africans chaperoned onto the island of Lampedusa. 46,000 single males from military age land on the Italian island en route to mainland Europe. And the reason I look at this and I'm like, look, there's only one place that's losing all of these men. And last time I checked, that country's currently being taken over by China. So 4D chess Illuminati, Chinese chink chayop games. Stay tuned in for next episode of I'm joking. What am I doing? Who am I? Oh yeah, we got Alex Jones, David Icke. You're low IQ. If you want to vote for the Trumpsters, we're gonna vote for Ron DeSantis. I don't even know what they said. I really don't care. Find a facial. I should probably actually show what's on my screen. Proper, like, you know. Yeah, it was the single men who are military aged and who are being displaced to Italy. There's a video right here. I don't know. Then I talked about Alex Jones and David Icke. They attack the Trump. The Trumpsters. Oh no, he's being attacked by weird men who clearly are obviously controlled opposition. Facial recognition smartwatches to be used to monitor foreign offenders in the UK. This reminds me of Repo Men. It's like one step away from Repo Men, but the criminals are the Repo Men, and the people who give them the orders are whoever's behind that digital screen. Oh yeah. Okay, so I had a bit of a shout out to Pox. I had a bit of a I was being mean to people on Poll. I was being very mean to people on Politics 4chan. And so a bit of a gravy that I know about bloodlines, the biblical stuff, and something that I've noticed with the trend that kind of comes with bloodlines, the understanding of blood types, the understanding of lineages, and so on and so on. I'm just noticing that there is a trend with one group of people being allowed to live and one group of people not being allowed to live. And there being a very large effort into logistics, where they would catalog people and they were purposefully getting rid of a very specific denomination of Christians. And this has happened far beyond the Byzantine Empire, far beyond any of these. I think that was the Seventh Crusade, was like 13 something, right? Beyond that, there's always been this war. It's a silent war against one particular group of Christians that have been wiped off the face of the earth. Completely, at least that's the belief, right? But something that I found very interesting when I was being mean to somebody on Poll was bringing up the fact that Hitler, by and large, facilitated the deal of Palestine becoming Israel. Hitler was the one that literally facilitated the deal between the Middle Easterners, Sudan, and the United Nations. And the whole reason why Israel is the way it is largely thanks to a legal purchase made through entities in the UK, which still exist to this day and still have authority over a lot of... Either way, this is getting way too deep already. I essentially told this fool, like, yo, like, all of the real tiny hats have been removed. All of them have been targeted out. All of them have been actually Epsteined out of existence. What you're looking at is a very particular group of people who call themselves tiny hats, but genealogically and historically will prove otherwise. And the people who, and here's something very, very specific that you have to understand DNA sequences. There's this whole theory that when incest occurs and when the DNA comes out all disbobulated, it allows for this discordance in DNA frequency that allows for demonic possession and all this other weird shit. And it's a very weird conspiracy theory. That's all I'm gonna say. But I always found it funny that the people who kind of won that little bout, the people who got favored in being allowed to live and being allowed to propagate and being allowed to continue their culture, it's one very, very small subset group of people who have this practice and would give me credence to believe that there's something weird going on with the woo is all I'm gonna fucking say. But this is something I believe. But keep in mind that there's a lot of research that you got to do in order for people to come to my conclusion. Is all I'm saying. But here it's Lex Wexner allegedly said in 1985 he was possessed by a demon and his good side has gone away. Split personalities. This goes into Project Camelot. She interviewed a variety of people that were related to Project Monarch and Project Montauk and some of these MK Ultra experiment programs that essentially combined aspects of psychosis, aspects of programming, aspects of either way. But the most prevalent one that I've seen with all the interviews was they used demonic possession, or at least they used some form of possession, some form of occultic magic in order for them to be successful in a lot of their rituals. So this is why you have a lot of those videos of like celebrities talking about that they have a split personality. And if you understand anything about like just the basic, those basic dudes that do hypnotism, how they can hypnotize somebody to reacting to a trigger, to picking up a box, taking out the gun and shooting somebody, right? If you can already pre-program somebody with no knowledge on how to fire an arm to become from a nobody to a marksman just by hypnotizing them, what's to say that you can't hypnotize or create a personality or a split entity inside of somebody that would harness that other aspect of that individual? The natural way of describing that would be what I call the flow state. When people get into their natural rhythm that allows them to tune into themselves, that allow them to, I guess in my case would be drawing, right? Once I get into that rhythm, next thing I know, it's 3 hours later, right? You get sucked into whatever activity you're doing. There's a flow state there. I would largely believe that MK Ultra, to some degree, figured out that that state in human consciousness exists, but there's a lot of overlap with occultism, people describing this. Wexner is Jewish. He used the word I don't even know what that word is, which is Yiddish for word of demon. And if you know the history of Yiddish, you'd understand that either way, this already gets into aspects of that I never thought I would ever get into a video. Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, has issued a cease and desist. Oh, this was this turned out to be fake. I think this turned out to be a false document. What in reality happened, the FDIC gave out a cease and desist to all these other like pseudo crypto firms that the FDIC basically told them, like, you're not backed, stop lying. And that was just it. That's where it ended. And then we have TikTok. Oh yeah, TikTok in-app browser may track your keystrokes. You think it's just the search bar, my boy? Nah, everything has a keystroke logger in it. Why do you think you have articles now that say, hey, maybe you should remove that tape you have on your webcam? Maybe you should, No, I'm joking. Either way. I am not a deviant. I swear, I'm a good boy. I don't got a high sex drive. What? Government lost as much as $100 billion to stimulus money fraud during COVID-19 pandemic. Illinois. Yeah, you know, all this money disappears, and yeah, guys, we should just keep allowing all this money to disappear. I love using the Rothschild money system. Like, it's great. We should just stick to digital, like, we should just stick to physical bills where dope boys will just stack it up in houses. And there's a plethora of problems with physical money, but people just don't want to acknowledge it. I'm like, dude, there are hills. There's like stories. There's like lore. There's like myths about how in Mexico you'll find hills that if you dig in these random ass areas, you might find stacks of euros, stacks of dollars, stacks of all these other currencies, because they have nowhere to put it. Like, dead ass full. Like, I'm not saying we should abandon physical money, but I am saying that we got a problem with the system that we have. And people are like, oh, the beast system. Ooh, I'm like, no, dude, shut up. The modern day Bible was written largely by evangelicals, Jesuits, and people with an agenda. Shut the fuck up. Open up the Vatican vault and let's read some real ass literature, all right? Look at me. Real literature, all right? None of this watered down bullshit. Either way. This gets into a whole other aspect of me where I'm like, pah. Either way. Amish farmer under threat from the U.S. federal government for refusal to abandon traditional farming practices. Like, dead ass, you gotta get those potatoes. You gotta go find yourself an Amish, be like, yo, doggy, hand over those seeds, and you gotta pay them in gold. Always bring gold and silver when you talk to the Amish. This is something that I learned. Almost the farmer owner. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. You have the FDA, or whatever organizations like, yo, you gotta eat the bugs. You gotta start farming the bugs. We're moving on, all right, Amish? You could still do what you gotta do, but there's the bugs and GMOs. You know what I mean? What was that new thing? Right? They completely changed the food pyramid. And in some cases, they put cereal above other articles of food, like butter. And I was like, bro, our understanding of the food pyramid is completely out of whack. And them finally attacking the Amish, is a clear sign that they literally want to hinder the human experience. They want to completely cut you at your britches and make sure that no healthy human could ever be born in modern circumstances. And that's fucking crazy to me. That's where we're at right now. But I think it's largely due to the fact that the culture war, where we're at in a timely period. But that's the thing, like, we're at a very pivotal moment where they do not have the infrastructure for this. They do not have the complete kneel from local police departments, governors, senators, local capacities. And, you know, when you look at a liberal now, you kind of laugh at them. So there's no real serious threat there anymore. So I think there is a path moving forward. But, you know, my name was Ramirez. Thanks for watching, and hopefully everyone has a fantastic weekend. Yeah, don't eat the bugs. Eat natural things that are not processed. Yeah. Have a good one.